Welcome to Your Thoughts, Your Reality with Michael Cole, the podcast that shines a compassionate light on the journey of veterans battling through life's challenges. Michael is a dual elite certified neuro encoding specialist in coaching and keynote training presentations, dedicated to guiding military veterans as they navigate the intricate pathways of post-deployment life. Join him as we delve into the profound realm of neuro encoding science, empowering these brave individuals to conquer universal battles, procrastination, self-doubt, fear, and more. Together, let's uncover the strength within you to re-engage with families and society, forging a new path forward.
Hello, everybody. We have my dear friend, Marcus Weiss on today again. He always brings so much great information and golden nuggets of wisdom, if you will. So super happy to have you back on, my friend.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Marcus is a joy empowerment coach who teaches practical tools for lasting inner peace. And who doesn't want that in their life, right? He helps people reconnect with joy even after seasons of stress, burnout, and transition. And his work focuses on presence, alignment, and emotional resilience. Marcus believes peace is not found, it's practiced. So welcome, my friend. If people that don't know you yet, and they should, tell us just a little bit more about yourself, if you will.
Well, thank you for having me, Michael. I really appreciate that and the honor and true privilege of sharing with your audience. And whether you're listening or whether you're watching, my name is Marcus Weiss. I am the Marcus Weiss Experience because I believe that life is to be experienced. Ultimately, we're all on a journey to be okay inside, if not great, if not exceptional. And just because I think it's that feeling that allows us to look forward in our lives, whether it's looking forward to the next moment, looking forward to the next day, looking forward, and hopefully looking forward to life in general. So like you, I am a dual elite certified neuroencoding specialist. And by that, I mean, I help people default to feelings of even greater joy in their life. And in that, I include awe and wonder and, curiosity and, like you said, inner peace. And I think today, we're talking about inner peace. And I know it sounds like a kind of a woo-woo buzzword or like, oh, inner peace, inner schmeece. What does it have to do with anything? Well, it goes back, you know what I mean? It's sort of like, oh, it's easier said than done. Yeah. And yes, that is, I was about to say sadly true, but it is just true because life be lifin'. As our dear friend Les Brown says, it's that life is always going to exist. And whether we perceive it as coming at us or whether we are, pushing it away or whether we're clinging to the good things, either way, that's all in the outside circumstantial. And in the end, we're all looking to be, like I said, a sense of okayness and aliveness. And so, would you like me to share a little bit of my story and where I'm coming from and why I do what I do?
Literally. Give me 1 second just before we dive into that. I just want to remind everybody on the top right-hand corner of your screen, there's a blue QR code that takes you to empowerperformancestrategies.com. Again, empowerperformancestrategies.com. I always point the wrong way. I finally got it.
I know. I went very slowly. Did you notice that? And
I know,
there it is.
So, where was I? Please come join the family, if you will, the mission even more so. There are free ebooks I've written. There are Facebook groups to be part of a community, both for families and veterans. And of course, there's all kinds of other good stuff on there. So please check that out. Again, if you're on the podcast forums later on just listening, it's empowerperformancestrategies.com. And with that out of the way, shall we dive in, my friend?
Absolutely.
I got a new toy.
That is amazing. Did you hit that on purpose with intention?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, that is fantastic. And that is phenomenal. And life happens. This is a perfect example. That life happens just as it's meant to, for lack of a better word, because we have the ability to choose to make moments magical, to make moments meaningful, to make moments powerful, whatever it is. And so I just chose, right, to embrace that whether it's on purpose or not, I chose it's on purpose. The universe sent that, whatever. And then it made us both smile in a big way, which triggered kind of a thought like, oh, that's funny or that's fun, which translates into a feeling, which translates into sort of an energy. And then you feel like doing something that's life affirming.
Amen.
I know it sounds kind of right. Sorry. Yeah. Amen.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to use that thing all day long just because it makes me smile.
Right. Because it makes you smile. And if you need that in the moment,
Absolutely.
and if it's appropriate, then great. And then then you sort of, no, actually not sort of, you're encoding your brain to sort of keep it there in a drawer so that if you're in a meeting or you're out there, you're in a stressful situation, all of a sudden you remember it at the very least. And then you smile internally because you remember it, triggers a little bit of that feeling and just enough lift to get through that moment.
Absolutely.
So
I mean, who doesn't need that in their life, right? Just to think of something and smile. Amen. Amen.
Right. Because the smile, right? That's an outward sign of being just a little more okay inside. There's an anthropological theory that laughter and that smiles comes from a release in realizing that things are okay. Mm-hmm. That when we were out hunting sort of, in the woods, back in the day, and there was a rustle in the leaves, and the leader of the group was like, oh, no, hold on, everybody, hold on. And then the bushes parted, and out comes the son of that leader. And then everybody's like, oh, it's just the son. It's just a little kid having a good old time. Ha, ha, ha. We're all okay. Right? And that's where laughter comes from. It's an okayness. And if we need to tell ourselves that, then that's what I do. And sort of, I guide people, in the things that I do, in the joy experience, for example, where, in the coaching that I do, over a period of weeks, I share with people things just like that to do on purpose, to get yourself into a place of okayness, or in my case, joy, awe, and wonder from the inside out. And so, and the reason I do that, man, can I share a little bit of the story?
Please. Absolutely. That's where we're going next, my friend.
Yeah. Well, right. Because I spent years without inner peace and not even realizing what I was missing, and accepting my way of being and feeling and doing and having as sort of given as the norm. It was pervasive and persistent, and it's just how it is. Let's waking up a certain way or being stressed in a certain way, and that's just what life is. And it didn't occur to me that life could be different, and that the greatest news about that is that I could have something to do with it, and I'm the closest person around. I don't even have to go looking. I mean, I know it sounds like oftentimes working on ourselves is the hardest thing to do. Sometimes. Right? It feels that way. And yet if we can reframe that and go, well, it's the greatest news of all, because I'm the one closest to me. So it took me a while to realize that. And it got to the point where, I had a wonderful wife and great children and friends and jobs. And yet on the inside, there was a pull down, man, from the neck down. It was just knotted up. And so every night when my head hit the pillow, I'd be like, thank God that's over. I didn't even specify what it was. I was just like that, which encapsulates all of life. Like what happened during the day, life in general. See this feeling. And then I would wake up with that same feeling. And by the way, I don't think I don't think going to bed and waking up, I don't think you wake up differently. I think you wake up the way that you go to bed. And so I share with those I work with, make sure you go to bed and you recount in your head what you're grateful for that day, or what you smiled about, or just a couple of things. And it's like counting sheep. Just count your little blessings, big and small, throughout the day. And before you know it, you're asleep, and you wake up that same way. But I had the opposite going on, Michael. I would go to bed going like, thank God that's over, whatever that day. And my favorite part of life was being asleep, was being unconscious. I was like, oh, one time I was having an argument with my wife, I was in a moment of stress. And this is another thing about inner peace. And that's when you recognize that something's going on, is when out of the blue, like you respond in a way that seems inappropriate to the situation.
Absolutely.
And in one of those situations, I said, sleep is all I have. I was like, that's the only time I have to myself is when I'm asleep.
Marcus, a nap is nice, but it's not a way to live.
No, it's not a way.
And it wasn't for forever. So talk to us a little bit.
It wasn't
about
forever. So I woke up one day.
That too, please.
What's that, love?
I said, talk a little bit more about how you kind of came out of that as well.
Right. So when I realized that every time I opened my eyes, all I saw was I projected about, a stressful life ahead of me. And so the stressful life came towards me. And then one day through someone kind of just like this online.
Marcus, I'm sorry, really quick. I'm really sorry to interrupt, but I need to make a real quick point here. How many people watching and or listening later on in the podcast forums can relate? Ooh, I just got to chill. Really think about that just for a minute, people listening. How many people have been where Marcus was? I just want you to just stop and think about that for a second, whether it was in your past or it's now. There's a lot of people. Marcus isn't alone. Marcus was going through things, and he's come to the other side of it because of that hard work. That's hard until it's not. And I just want people to realize and stop and think about yourself before Marcus goes into the other part of the story. Because I think it's super important that you really just stop and think, because honestly, Marcus, I would probably say 90% of the human population has been through, to some extent, what you went through.
Mm-hmm.
So with that said, now tell us about the light side.
Mm-hmm.
Please.
So many of us go through it. And what's so intense about it is that when you are in it, so it's really difficult, if not often impossible, to think that others are in the same. So when you need to not be alone the most, it's the hardest to not feel alone. Like you feel, so, just when you need reaching out the most is when it feels impossible, because you're not even thinking, you're so wrapped up in yourself and trying to, and struggling with yourself. That reaching out is often the hardest thing to do. And so through the blessing of a person very close to me in my life, which was my wife at the time, she nudged me. So I got some help from her first, a little nudge towards somebody. And it happened to be online during COVID, who knew what they were doing, because they too had gone through something and became a mentor on the other side. So they had been through it, right? And they weren't teaching theory. They were saying like, hey, I get it. And just enough of, hey, you're not alone, just like in this moment, because we're all looking to belong somehow, to connect. And we're in an epidemic of disconnection, whether personally or whether as a community. Like there's disconnection all over, everywhere. And so I think we're often starving for connection, or at least looking for it, as was I. And so then I realized and I recognized that, and something right in that person, like I liked that person, I trusted that whoever was speaking. And so when they described these things to sort of to do, I found myself almost in spite of myself doing the things in real time. Yes, in real time. And I mean, that's because it's the question is at some point not so much why am I feeling this way. It has to at some point transition into, how do I feel better? How do I get beyond this? Especially sort of in the veteran community, right? We're used to doing something, and it's often gentle, but somehow in that real moment with this community, I found myself doing the things and feeling better and recognizing that yes, it came through someone else, but it was me who made the changes. And once I realized that, I realized, wait, if I can make little changes and feel better and look forward to waking up, and I didn't want to go to sleep anymore because I didn't want to miss life. Whoa, what else is possible? And this is a key, not so much for me, but for other people. It's like, if I can do it, I was excited about what was happening with me, and even more excited that if this is possible for me, just like the person was saying on the screen, it's got to be possible for others. I can do what that person does. I can spread the light, right? I can be another conduit. I can be another candle. And that was the most exciting part for that recovery personally for me, which is why I do what I do now. That may not be the case for everyone, and for me, it was, Michael. Yeah. For me, and so I immediately, it was such a change for me. Such an awakening for me, this sense really for the first time in my life that I could not just find joy and create joy and be joy and share it all on purpose, which brings me back to that smile we had, right? On purpose. That means if I've done it once, I can do it again, like the next day. And I wasn't just a leaf in the wind of life, that I had ownership over my own, thoughts and meanings, and therefore feelings, and how I was showing up, and how I saw life showing up to support me, and more importantly, my family, my community. And it was so exciting. And all of a sudden I felt like I was soaring, and really again, I use that word intentionally because the winds of life will blow, but I was the one who had the wings, man. Yeah. And I love it, man. And I could fly through life, or soar through life, or just float gently, and whatever metaphor you want to use. And so that's my story.
Yeah, I love that, Marcus. So many people choose to suffer, and literally it is a choice to change that. And I see you're lighting up because it's true, because so often, your thoughts are your reality, right? Let's be real here. So you can choose to change that with intention, just like Marcus is saying. It's absolutely beautiful what you just talked about.
Yes, and I love that distinction. And you may have said that intentionally too. You specifically said choose with intention. Mm-hmm. And I say that because, right, the reality is that we're making a choice all the time. We're making choices all the time, whether consciously or unconsciously. And that's the thing, right? It's sort of like no answer is still an answer. Procrastinating is still doing something. And there was a decision there subconsciously because of all the stuff we've been through and have been programmed to, or through life experience. And so how can we get more ownership over our choices so that we can show up with intention, so that we can exist with intention? And then, and that those intentions can then become, right, through discipline at first, if it's a big change, and then they become habits. And then eventually the good decisions become subconscious. Absolutely. You know what I mean? The good ones, the healthy ones.
Yeah. I love that you say that. We're believe it or not, over halfway done already.
Oh my goodness.
I know. We're having too much fun. And again, I always love our conversations, my dear friend. With that said, we were going to talk about, and this has been rescheduled because of some health things, guys, just so you know, but we were going to, before Christmas, talk about stress of the holidays and so on. So I just want to just kind of pivot into this because, the stress, whether it be the holidays or, again, like you said, Les Brown, life be lifing, because, it never stops. It's how you react to the situation and the definition you give those things, right? Good and bad. So I'd like to kind of bounce into that, if you will, whether, again, it be the holiday stress or it be something at work or whatever the case may be. How do we change that? I'm going to let you do this. So how do we go from that stress into that amazing place of joy, or better, even peace, if you will?
When we're in the midst of it.
Yep, absolutely.
Right. For example, or when the world is telling us, especially around the holidays, when the world seems to be telling us to be joyful, or celebrate, where there seems to be commands almost everywhere, and whether it's channeled through spirit, or whether it's coming from a commercial place, like buy, or whatever. Either way, we start to get that feeling. And I think, I believe, and I say this through experience, the first key is to acknowledge that it's happening. I think every change begins with an acknowledgement, just an acknowledgement that there's all this stuff going on out here. I'm feeling this way.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing is, what would I rather feel? What would I rather feel? What would I love? And by love, I just mean, hey, if I had it my way, right? And first, the beginning, if I had it my way, how would I rather feel? Then it goes into some kind of a choice. What's a little thing that I can do to get closer to how I would rather feel? And what would I rather be, as a result of feeling differently, what would I rather be doing? Meaning, what would I rather feel that is, for example, joyful, and I would therefore not snap at my family, or I wouldn't be shaking in the car, or I wouldn't be clenching my teeth, or I'd be sleeping better, whatever it is. And then once we decide that, then we can choose to give ourselves grace, or choose to take a deep breath, put a smile on our face, and go, I'm above ground. And like you said, with intention and without irony. Because what comes out here goes in our own ears, our own brains, and then our brains believe it.
Mm-hmm.
It believes that it's going to be an okay day, that it's going to be a great day, that it's going to be a magnificent day, that we are calm, that we are whole, that we are alive, and that's good news. And then it'll send a message to your heart, and your heart will feel just good, just better enough to calm your nervous system.
Love it.
Or right. So, and then you choose. So that's the how, is acknowledgement, grace, one choice closer to what you might want to feel. And that could be like, you know what? I'm not going to buy that. Or you know what? I'm going to step out of this room. You know what? I'm going to turn the radio off so I don't hear that music. Whatever it is. But it starts with acknowledgement. Does that answer your question?
It does. Absolutely. It's beautiful. And so let me go even further, okay? Because we want to have these things stick, or recognize them faster, right?
Yes. Okay.
So that we can default back to our best selves, right? The person we want to be, that peace, that joy, the person smiling and making other people's lives better, not the one that's being an ass and treating everybody like crap, right?
Yeah.
So we want that more in our life. And well, I think most people do, I should say. I know I do always. So how do you recognize it faster? Let's start there. And then I want to go into, how do you make it stick?
Okay. How do you recognize it? How do you recognize it faster?
Yes. So instead of being pissed off for 3 days, you're pissed off for 3 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think people's reflection back to you, that is, people's reaction to you, is, well, let's imagine that it is a consequence, a reaction to how you're showing up. And that can be both in a good way and a not great way. So meaning that if the light you shine will reflect back to you. Let's imagine for a minute that that's true. I believe it's true, and because I say that through experience. So it's a reflection. So one way, because you said, how do you recognize it? Because sometimes we're not reading our own jar. Sometimes we're not so aware. So one way to do it is to observe how others are reacting to you.
Love that.
Meaning, like, are your kids running up to hug you when you come in the door? Is your significant other, turning towards you? Are you getting a promotion? Are people calling you? Are people texting you? And then recognizing, like, this might have something to do with me. And that's, like I said before, it's good news. Grace, everyone. Because the
Love that.
good news, the flip side of that is, wait, if that's true, yes, that's not the best for now, and change is possible. Because if I'm just going to use this word for lack of a better one, if negative consequences have something to do with me, then let's call it prosequences. That is good consequences. Prosequences, I could have it could also have to do with me. That means, wait a minute, what? So then if you show up better, others will show up better, right? If you vibrate in a certain way, the world will show up to support you, the universe or whatever, or people. You don't even have to go that big. So that's how I would go. How are people reacting to me? What's life?
I love that. I love that. Really quick, I'm sorry. If your dog's running from you, it's a problem.
If your dog's running from you, it's a problem. Yeah, man.
It's a problem. Here's the other thing. I just want to add into that before you go to the next part. I love what you said, and I think it's literally just spot on. It's perfect. Also, I'd say be aware of how you feel.
Nope.
You generally, if you're crunchy, cranky, you're being an ass, you do feel it. You feel the stress, your breathing changes, all of those amazing things that you can be aware of as well. So if I can add to that, I'd say look at both of those because they're both very valuable in self-assessment. And I think that's is maybe something to look at as well.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Right. And I'm so glad you added on to that. And I was going to share that as well because if that's sort of like a next level thing, right? Look at yourself, and if you're crunchy, chances are that's that something can change.
Absolutely.
I say don't shit on yourself, and something can change, right? So then and then the next one was how to get out of it faster.
No, how to make it stick. So once you're there,
how to make it stick. Mm-hmm.
So once you realize, you go through some of those things that you mentioned earlier to get yourself in a good state, if you will, or a state that you want to be in with joy, peace, all those amazing things that most people, I'd say, want to feel all day long.
Yeah.
So how do you then make that stick? How do you hold on to that? So you default back to that quickly, obviously, because you already realize, hey, I'm being an ass. My dog's running from me. Wife doesn't want to look at me, and I feel like crap. So now you've realized you've done some of those other things. Now, how do you make that stay?
You make it stick through reps. Reps, man. I mean, it's like going to the gym. The way to get stronger is to do the bicep curls, or the way to increase your breathing capacity is to go for walks, and you increase it incrementally. And so you need to interrupt your patterns, meaning that at some point you need to stop doing this and start doing that. And at first it's going to require help from the outside, perhaps, right? To learn some kind of a tool to interrupt your patterns. Absolutely. We have a thing in neuro encoding that's called the stop technique. And you literally practice that, or rehearse it rather, which is practice with emotion, and you do it ahead of time, right? You do it ahead of time. And before you get to a heavy lift, a situation, you learn how to do it and you rehearse it. And so at first, and this is key, it's going to feel like discipline. Because you're looking for change. It's not going to feel like you. It's not going to come naturally. And that's when we need to keep in mind what we would rather feel. What would we rather see in our life? And that then motivates us to keep that discipline until it becomes a habit, to interrupt your patterns. Until then it becomes you. And it doesn't have to take years. It doesn't have to take even months. The things that you and I work on, they work pretty instantly. You get to a place where you recognize, oh, you know what? I feel cranky. This is what's happening around me. And you know what? I do have something to do with it. And all of a sudden you feel weird not doing something about it.
Yeah.
So that's how to make it stick. I mean, because eventually sticking just means you're defaulting to it. And meaning like you're going to do the habit because it feels weird not to do the habit, or it becomes so sticky that you're not thinking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to add to that too. So when you feel happy and people around you and you're attracting those kinds of people back to you because they want to be around that happy person, and you're going to generally attract that same thing, it's very contagious. So a lot of times what's going to happen is you're going to change over the reps, right? And you're not going to come out with, like you were saying, you're not going to come out in one day looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It takes time, right, to do it.
Yeah, it takes
and I love the way you talked about it. So just keep that in mind. When you start bringing the other people around you, it just starts to become natural.
Yes.
I mean, my friend's Marcus Weiss with the Joy Experience, a dear friend. Why is that? Because we're aligned, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, amen. Hey, Marcus, we are over time already.
Okay.
So I did put up your information on here to how people reach out to you. So if anybody is interested in talking to Marcus or anything like that, is that correct, Marcus?
That is actually, so that is the Joy Experience, which is coming up actually next week. I'm starting another six-week group coaching program. Okay. So that's the link for that. Would you like a link for people to get in touch with me?
Actually, if you want to if you want to just let people know just on this, that's fine, because people on the podcast forums can't see this. So if you want to just let people know out, verbally.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. So I am Marcus Jacob Weiss on Facebook, or the Marcus Weiss Experience on Facebook and Instagram, and then just Marcus Weiss on LinkedIn. So anybody can find me as either the Marcus Weiss Experience or Marcus Jacob Weiss. If you search that on all those platforms, you'll find me, and just look for the bald head.
It's like me with the red shirt.
Yeah, right. I know.
I'm wearing a red shirt today.
Fantastic, dude. Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. So Marcus, with that said, if you can give us 3 tips to get veterans and their families further faster.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Okay. Number 1, when you wake up in the morning, do this on purpose. And if you have to remember me and this crazy bald head, what you're going to do is you're going to take your fingers, you're going to put them to your eyes like this, and you're going to go like this. And it sounds ridiculous. You're going to go, it's going to be a great day. Okay. Or you can just do this and just remember this moment. Say, it's going to be a great day. Say that to yourself, because your brain will believe you just enough for you to smile just enough, to then feel just enough to stretch and get out of bed or whatever. I literally do that every single day. And that changed my life, because you will not forget that through the day. You're going to want to fulfill your own promise. Number 2, take a deep breath. And whatever that means to you, you don't have to be a yogi, okay? Just whenever you feel stress coming on, remember this moment, and on purpose, with intention to get to a better place, you stop, you just breathe in through your nose, put the corners of your mouth above the horizontal, just enough, and then exhale through your mouth on an S. Because that'll slow your breath down on the exhale, which is important, okay? That's just a physical thing you can do. And you'll know that you're doing it because you'll have your body involved. And then number 3, like I shared, I'm going to bookend it, like I shared in the beginning of this call. Please, when you close your eyes at night, have a couple of thoughts of gratitude and what went well that day. Giving yourself some grace. It can be a small thing. It can even be, you know what? I got through the day, meaning I succeeded in getting to this place. Not like, oh God, that's over. Gratitude, appreciation, whatever it is, so that you wake up the next day and you'll be inspired to start again with that. It's going to be a great day. So those are my 3 first tips that I would give.
Absolutely love it. Fantastic, my dear friend. As always, time is the most precious resource we have as human beings.
Yeah.
We don't get it back. So thank you for spending this time with us and dropping this wisdom and brilliance and all the amazing things that you do.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you. I thank you, Singh, but thank you so much for the privilege of your time as well. And it was an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely. And with that note, everybody, we are out of here.
Thank you for joining us on another insightful journey of Your Thoughts, Your Reality podcast with your host, Michael Cole. We hope the conversation sparked some thoughts that resonate with you. To dive deeper into empowering your thoughts and enhancing your reality, visit empowerperformancestrategies.com. Remember, your thoughts shape your reality, so make them count. Until next time, stay inspired and keep creating the reality you desire. Catch you on the next episode.